which is probably a little bit unusual, especially for the students in the audience. I never really got a degree in art, and for a number of different reasons, but I started doing it as just a personal pursuit in high school. I always been a craftsman and studied drawings. In grade school, I would copy the covers and comic books and stuff. And in high school, I started playing guitar in a couple bands. And this was back in the late 60s and 70s. And I wanted pictures. I really wanted big posters of artists and Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton. I didn't know where to go. And I really wanted something of all size, basically. My father had created these bulletin boards. My brother, this soft fiber board where just big sheets of this stuff, and I would get pictures of cars. He fits to it and went in front of mine. And he had left over some of this Celotex, is what it was called. Had a big piece of it, about 4 by 4 feet. And so I copied the Jimi Hendrix album cover and gypsies and his Celotex, and I was really pleased with it. Put it up, so I had this in my bedroom. And about the same time, I found my dad was kind of an amateur painter. He'd paint on the weekends, and he always had foil paint sitting around, and art music manual in their bookshelf that had an article. And the article read about his life, and I became fascinated with painting as an activity, partly because just I liked the paintings, but I thought they were interesting, and also because painting to him seemed to be what music was to me at that time. It's passion. And so I started imitating Van Gogh. I would get like and then got branched out into other artists from the same period. Looking at it. And again, just imitating these artists. This went through high school. And then I got to college. And at the same time, I was looking around the art world. I just thought, none of these people I like really fit in with what was going on in the 60s or 70s. So much cleverness open to try to be avant-garde, and it just seemed to be that painting had come to a point. All of the kind of that gave artists more freedom. And And so I didn't think it would be any way for me to fit as an artist. So I did a major in English. Got a master's in English. And basically became a writer in order to make money, all the while continuing painting. So that would be my advice to anybody who's dreaming of being a painter at this point, doing it full time, is don't give yourself the freedom to explore, because that's basically what I did for a couple of decades. Just try different things. There was no pressure. I was associated with it. And I was able to get to the point where I am now. The other thing that happened was that what really opened my eyes as to the possibility of my fitting in any way. In the 80s, we moved to Utica. Got a job in one of the newspapers there. And the Munson Williams Proctor had a couple shows that I thought were just fantastic. And one was a solo show of this artist, Raymond Hahn. And it was just all still lifes. And they were all kind of like this. They were just very simple, classical, white, almost white paintings. This one's just all, there's nothing colorful in them at all. It looks like a black and white image. But some of them had intense areas of color, like peonies, fruit. And so you could intersperse these things that were very colorful in this field. It was mostly just white, and they were all kind of from this perspective. So they were all in this format of standing in front of a table that's up against a white wall. Most of them were square, and I've looked on the web, and it's very hard to find any of the other paintings that were in this show. This is back in the 50s. And it was fascinating because it was much like what an abstract painter would do, the kind of format, and he kept using the same format, table, same shaped table against this white background. And then the only variation would be how the kind of objects he put on the table, how he placed them, how he arranged them. And it was just very self-effacing and kind of serene. And I just thought, like, well, this was great. It's in the 80s, this guy's, you know, he's a representational painter. This is fantastic. And so there was that, and then they did a survey of contemporary realist painters, and it had everybody imaginable, extra elms, a lot of the photorealists, Richard Porter. They even included one or two paintings from this painter, and that again just reaffirmed what I'd seen from the solo show. So I took some coursework there at Hudson Williams Proctor and started to get more serious about painting. And then I took some more coursework when we moved to Rochester. But I never got back to school and took courses. I just basically taught myself by studying this work. And then there were these two books that I found about the same time that reaffirmed the interest in representational painting. And this one, it's got William Bailey, Jack Beale, Jane Freilicher, Leonard Anderson, Wayne Thiebaud, Neil Welliver, Louisa Medioskottir, Thorpe Goldstein. This was actually very similar. William Becklin, Jack Beale, Chuck Close, Jonah Fish, Al Goins, James Solaria, Neil Welliver again. And each one of these had sections. They'd have a section on the artists, and then this Q&A with the artists about how they worked, what their, you know, how they got started, and what their inspirations were. It was fascinating. It's very practical too. I mean, the photorealists would just talk about how they did it. You know, take an image, get a slide, take a slide of an image that they wanted to paint, jack it, you know, trace the outlines of everything, and then work from the photograph, and so on. And you know, that's interesting. I think I'm going to try that. And so that was huge. Just these two books, just a big turning point. And so then I started. I'd say we came to Rochester. I kept working. I was working at the newspaper. Then I went to an ad agency. Still painting quite a bit, and I would get solo shows every now and then. Like my parents knew Grant Holcomb. He contacted the Eastman Dental Center, and they had an exhibition space on the ground floor. And so I did a solo show of the work I was doing at that time. So it was still life work, but what I had seen, super regular. And, you know, didn't sell much or anything. I just kept doing it, but there was no way to find out where else I could, so how to pursue that. The internet is so I didn't know how to proceed. I did keep approaching Oxford Gallery, and finally they said, okay, we'll try your work. But at the same time, I got a contract to do a book, Random House, and that took me away for a year. So that sidelined the painting. But by the turn of the century, I was back. I had enough time to start painting in a serious way. And I had the opportunity and the finances to really get to devote myself more to painting than writing. 2005 or 6 after the project. So I started exhibiting, and then the internet directories for, you know, curated exhibitions available. So then I started sending work out, and since about 2008, I've been doing curated exhibitions every year. Send out a dozen applications or whatever, and figure you're going to get into 2 or 3 or maybe. But it's just a discipline, and you know, you got to do it. But it's been very interesting. I mean, at this point now, I've sold work on a regular basis for the past 10 years. I'm still making money by writing on the side, but I'm kind of at full retirement age now, and I don't, you know, it's more of a supplement. So the writing has taken a real backseat to the painting. I do spend most of my time. I got into contemporary city last August and showed there, and so 3 of them stabbing killing. So then Steve Diamond, gave me to about 9 of them out to Los Angeles for the big art fair. Just got back then. Should sold. See, because if he sold one, then on the future of the game, see where it leads.
Should tell him Dave, that Arcadia is one of the best
Thomas,
tip our locations on the planet Earth.
Thomas, big fan
That's
of
a-
Arcadia Contemporary.
Yeah,
No, they're really fine down rates. Forum and Arcadia.
yeah. That's good for you.
See, I could answer questions about how I work or just anything else.
Transition from
Yeah.
paintings.
Yeah,
When I first met you, you were doing.
like this. Like 10 years ago, I was doing mostly a lot of these jars, and I did sell quite a few of these. And that was, I've always been interested in abstract art, and I actually was painting abstract work for quite a while, in addition to what I'm doing here. And my interest in abstraction, I think, is most obvious in those paintings, because those are very much like almost composition, color feel, where shapes, the forms are just kind of this regular repetitive grid, and the color is the main variation. The lighting is almost the same. Again, it's like what I was saying about Raven Pond. I'm fascinated by just taking a format and just doing the same format and seeing what variations you can work with. And these, I like these even better, but I'm enjoying the tapping more because the variations are more significant. It's not just the color so much as the form and the translucency of the wax paper and the different lines you can get out of it.
Your tapping paintings are becoming signature or seen thing as, you know, relative to what you would clean up personally. That filled with this.
If I keep it up.
Because you are, and
I am. I mean, yeah, sure.
it would be nice if that.
Sure. But I like the other, I mean, I still enjoy doing this kind of thing. And even when I was doing these, it's like William Bailey is an example. Like he would do still lifes that are all, again, it's the same thing. It's a format and it's just detail, but it'll be a long surface. You're looking at it. Everything is raised at eye level. And it's just a row of objects, none of which are shiny. These shiny objects, they're all these sort of old, antique looking things. Somewhere. And so it's just this array of objects on a horizontal level. And that's kind of, I was thinking that when I did these series of these flowers are arranged that way, and then there's one or two objects aside from context. It's just a background. Yeah, I do. Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Is there a point that you stop looking at the photo? Because some of these start to look mostly
Yes.
abstractions.
Yes. Yeah. I changed what I see in the things, details. So it's not an exact communication, but it takes a long time to get the right photograph too. I spend quite a bit of time. This is Ralph Goings. This is a great book if you can get it. I mean, student, where the interview with Ralph Goings is really wonderful. He got, like you were saying, his signature thing is the diner. I just had breakfast at Jay's Diner with my son this morning. But he would do things like this. He started off as an abstraction and just ran out of steam. He just didn't find any interest in it. Didn't know what to do. Quit painting for a year. He was out on the West Coast. And all of his friends were abstractionists. And so he just, out of idleness, he just started copying photographs and wasn't even thinking about it as a type of painting. Just doing it because it was kind of interesting and fun. And I think he was just doing it, you know, he didn't project it or anything. But then he started communicating with other photorealists. He realized they were using projectors and just got more and more serious about it. And all the while, the guys were saying, and he just kept doing it almost in defiance of associated with it. And it's just great to read. It's just,
Dave, can you talk a little bit about, we've talked before about the abstract approach that you take to doing these rampers, and you had mentioned that sometimes you will.
that's the other thing that, yeah, I spend a lot of time. Yeah, like, these are all, I redid all these as a director. She got it cut at the right size. And like that one, I just twisted them and they just sort of came out that way. And I would probably spend a lot more time now than I did on that, but I'm glad I did. I mean, it's craziness, but just the way it's wrapped. Now I would spend more time on it. I'm looking for simpler lines. So I just do it over. Cutting this little piece of our paper and big stuff that's out the big. Yeah, it's just like taking the photograph. You know, you got to spend a lot of time just getting these things so that they, and then there's some kind of a unified relationship between the two pieces in these lines. You know, the lines carry through. It's like, you know. No. No. Yeah. Yeah. I never liked this color because it's that.
Do you drawing or do you go right with a brush for your drawing?
Oh, no, I do the drawing. I do the. It's like a photo I want.
What do you use, pencil or what?
Yeah.
You just fix it and paint over
I
it?
don't fix it, no.
Just let it disappear into the painting.
Yeah, yeah, that's it, baseline. I it reduces. I always agree. Yeah, if you fix that drawing, it'll fix it. Paint isn't gonna. It's the same thing. So I'm not. Right, yeah.
Yeah, fix it if it can yellow sometimes too, so it could affect their.
So I've used it once or twice and then. Just like I do.
Red plate is like big.
So you go in during more direct, you're saying, you know, saying.
I do, yeah, we were talking about that. I have done underpaintings with large areas of color, large flat areas. And then go back to do the details as a second. But, I mean, I try now to thicken the paint where I don't need to do more than one color, like once I'm done, that's well understood. But that's not hard and fast. The thing I'm working on now, I'm working on everything.
Well, though, to achieve those pure lights, I would imagine. Want a pretty pure under layer.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, it varies. Doing something a little different right now. I'm going back over and finishing a lot of the stuff that I thought was finished to begin on the first round.
Variety of lights.
I know. I use soft mixing light. It's I did the big tubes of it, and it's Windsor and several different brands. And it almost works like a medium. It's so soft and so easy to brush that when you mix it with the colors, I just actually don't use any other medium except just the paint, which is pretty good with a dab of mineral spirits. Loosen it up a little bit.
So the Windsor paints, you said it's soft mixing way. What about the other paints? They also
No,
soft.
no. But that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm always adjusting the color on the others, and when I do, it's usually with that white, and that makes them easier to brush.
You might have already said this, but approximately how long would it take you to do?
It's almost always at least 6 weeks to do one of these. That could be. and the one I'm working on now, and it's not a tapping painting, but I'm thinking 4 months maybe, if I can do it. But, I'm just saying a month, I mean, it's like these, those pairs, that was like, it's different, I mean, it's not, it's small, but it was just, that was the influence of Chardin, like, back in the 80s when I saw that show. I can tell you about how I got this solo show. He just lived in Cooperstown and just painted for himself, never exhibited, sold to people who just happened to see the work in his house in the area, like people who would come up and have a summer home in Cooperstown. So they would see the work and they'd say, oh, yeah. So he would sell it. And then this Guggenheim curator had a place up there and saw one of the paintings and said, it's fantastic, gotta get in the show. So he was, I think, the force behind this solo show at Munson Williams Proctor. But Han just wasn't, he wasn't ambitious as a career painter at all. He was just doing it because he loved doing it. And then he got shown at Forum, and you can find he's died, but his work is still available, option. It's very interesting.
What drew you to taffy? Like, what was the impetus?
Well, at first, when I was doing the jars, I bought a bag of taffy somewhere. It sat in my studio for like 7 years, I think. and taffy doesn't keep. So you couldn't even get the wrapper off. It was like chewing them. And because originally I thought, but imagine putting a bunch of this taffy in a jar with the wrapper, So I never got around to it. And then I thought, that's kind of interesting. And then it just took me like 2 years to just get up the nerve to do it. And then I thought, like, oh, yeah, it's good. Well, in my instance, the Chico talked about that. He started painting candy and fiction and stuff. He was very divided about it. He just thought, this is so ridiculous. So it's kind of like Ralph Goings, dealing with the detractors around it.
Dave, do you try to work on more than one painting at a time?
No,
Yeah.
no, it's always usually just one. I mean, I'll get stuck and I'll put something aside, then maybe go back to it after a while. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to switch back and forth. I just keep wanting to do it. I've got enough room now to do that. I could have two going.
And what about the formatting? I mean, are you feel like committed at one point to be working this large, almost monumental scale or intimate? These ones.
I like the large, but I'm not crazy about that large. This is much more. But it's harder to do. I've tried very small tablets. I don't like it. I mean, it doesn't loses something. It doesn't have that sense of abstraction that the bigger ones do. Same with the candy jars. Down to a certain size. But I like the small paintings, but I just have to do more still life stuff.
So are you going back and forth between still life and
I have
jar
this,
painting
yeah,
at this point? Are you
in the past year, I kind of took a break from the taffy and I did 3 things. That one was scene. Oh, I didn't know the candy jar. It's not it. It was partly because I put together a website and I looked at all the different categories and I thought, geez, this would be fun to do this more. I could do it even better. I looked at the work that I had on the website. Yeah, the skulls. Yeah, it was just somebody said, "Go to do a skull." I said, "Yeah, all right." Okay. And so I was a member at Viridian Artists, which is artist funded gallery down. And the member artists had that baboon skull some trip, so they give it. So I'm gonna get that. So shot of it, we paid it. And then this human skull, that was And, that came from Kristen Lee, one of the fucking, she was one of the founders. Father was dentist. He taught. And so somebody he was always late for meetings, he would never make his appointments. So he came back one time and somebody stole his desk. And it came with that actual box, so the box, I guess it would be, I don't know if it would shipped in that box or something, but it had that Sharpie that's written on the side of the box. So, but it's it's Vanitas. Still my name, so it's really my, so it's in the. Yeah.
I think that realist artists would become more appreciated at the end of the day.
Well, I think it is, but I think it has been, and that was from the 80s on. I mean, there were a lot of other things going on, but yeah, representational painting is the mainstay, I think. It's not big. I mean, you don't find a lot of galleries that are certainly not devoted to it, but some will carry it along with other things. Yeah, I think it's painting in general. I mean, for a long time, people thought painting was sort of a very big part of it. Yeah, sometimes people get to wise up. Oh, yeah. Okay.
When you ship these,
Yeah. Good question. Go ahead.
Are they shipped? Are they rolled?
No.
You ship them as is, with in frame.
That's the other thing. If you're going to be an artist, shipping, just moving a painting from one place to another takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and money. I mean, it can be very expensive sometimes. I used to ship them in boxes. You get a box made, or just boxes. If it's smaller paintings, you can just. I've never had a painting damaged in transit, but maybe 5-6 years ago, I just started building crates, and some of them were so big, I ended up ordering like luggage handles and put on the crates so you could just pick it up and move it. So. And bubble wrap, I would even line some of the crates with it to come home. But it takes time. Like you could do a whole day just to getting the thing rated up, getting it to UPS or FedEx or wherever you got to send it. And sometimes it used to be easy to go to like the UPS store and get a return label put inside so that they would have the return. Well, I rarely sell any submissions. They're almost always coming back. So you got to pay, for the label that they'll put on it. Last year, I sent a painting to the Czech Republic. That was the most painful, ridiculously involved process I've been through. It was expensive, and it got hung up on customs, and the language barrier was a factor where I'm trying to communicate on number, and finally it got through. But they were just trying to get their value out of tax. And yeah, that's all it came down to. So I got that down and got that show. That came back quickly and easily. But yeah, it's fun when you make it work. It's just you got to be prepared for it. Start doing those things. It's just logistics and physical labor.
7 years younger.
Yeah, I sure did. Yeah, yeah. And I was good at drafting. I mean, it's like, feel kind of bad since I used to shortcut it from checking. It's the beginning. Most, when I was first started doing still lifes, like say this one back here, I would create a grid, grid off, and then, or with, sometimes I would even just set up a still life and I would strain thread in stretchers. So I would have a grid made with thread. Just have that now, sitting, looking through the grid, and then I canvas, freehand to the front. Yeah, I was, it was fun. It was good drinking. Tom draws every day. 7 in the morning. Almost. Tonight, I'll do that much drawing. It's my first passion.
He mentioned Jeff too. Just I often there one that's built 24 by 24 inch squares with string every 6 inches.
That's it.
So each student in drawing,
That's exactly what I did.
it never happened. So
Just use stretchers. I mean, just use stretchers and staple them. That's
great.
Yeah. Yeah. I like warm colors, yeah. I like that, but she likes the blues. But I'm more partial to the warm color stuff. Yeah, I don't have, the last candy jar I did had a much bigger variety of color, and they were subtle color. But part of it was just, yes, I wanted the warm colors, and then to get an integrated image, you almost have to stick with it. It's very hard to hang together if you use a lot of colors. But then, like these two, these different ones with the diaper kids.
But that image was on the repro. Background was much dark.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that's interesting that he's trying. But it's really not that dark.
It's a bright light. It depends on what light it's in. Yeah, I've done a couple. There's another one of these. Same two kinds of tapping. That have very dark, not as dark. Yeah, I know. I know it's weird. Just what's that? Right. That's where the quote comes from. Always. Well, it's always been that whole idea that you don't start with the idea comes afterwards. And I think of painting as working with form and formal concern. And then as you're doing it, or when it's done, then you can see associations like this was fine. And all I was doing was when I was taking the picture, saying, forms and shapes and lines that somehow work together and flow together. And so that the image just looks like, oh, yeah, all belongs. And then as you're working on it, you're thinking like, okay, well, that does that's that kind of haunting. So then the title comes, so then it becomes associated, once it's done. But I don't think of I'm going to start out with a painting that expresses.
Dave,
Yeah.
I enjoyed the fact, I know you had a bunch of them in Oxford, they weren't real big. But when you got up to them, they were like a beginning painting, the kind of freshness.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people liked retain it. The beauty of it was as you went away from it, it became more realistic. And that I found that unique quality in your painting. One doesn't find that much. Everybody likes to think about doing that, retaining it, but you don't see it much. And I have seen that in your work, and I found it very appealing.
Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate that. It's a compliment. But I wish when I look at my brushwork, I'm never satisfied. Yeah, I mean, like it's sergeant or somebody who really,
Do you know, there's a painter recently that I was teaching an etching course, and a student of mine gave me a book, etching in a collection of Anders Zorn. And I think he's a way undervalued painter. He's a great painter, as good as Sargent any day of the week. And his etchings are absolutely phenomenal.
good friend is
There's such a
very difficult.
breadth and technique that he used in etchings. I mean, even broader than Rembrandt or anything. His etchings are really, really phenomenal, but the paintings are great too. And he did, they're not so known, but he did a lot of people in the States. Came over here and painted a lot of people by Sargent and some other people did. So it's kind of peculiar sometimes how some artists fall between the cracks. And
Velasquez. But yeah, that is, I'm not, it's not hyper realistic. What I'm doing is it's not like a photograph of close. It's working from a photograph, but it's fine.
no, because the composition is important, the way the lines work, the way it's structured. It's much as it's painterly, it also has a real connection to form.
Right.
Form interests you.
That's what that's what really.
Sometimes painting goes, in its interest in the paint, goes away from the form somewhat. That's not the case here. They're intertwined.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't want to call attention.
I suppose that's the one thing that the wax paper helps a great deal, because it gives a better quality than the original wrapper.
Right. Yeah, I did do one or two. Well, I did more than one or two. The logo, red logo.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's just like a. And some folks are not going to.
I think it proves that artistically, anything is fair game. It's just whoever has to see something in something and explores.
Well, that was, yeah, and that was the thing about the sixties when I was back then, I thought, well, there's no more advance. I just couldn't imagine how's it going to advance any more than just Jackson Pollock. You know, splatter and paint, you know, where else is it going to go? And then I read, that was the other thing that happened in the eighties. I read this essay by Arthur Danto, and he said, pop art basically it was the end point for art in a certain sense, because it meant from then on, what he said was, all right, Warhol did this exhibition of Brillo boxes, and it was just a stack of artificially made Brillo boxes, and they were indistinguishable from an actual box that you could find in the supermarket. And so he said, like, this was the challenge. Like, how can this be a work of art if it's indistinguishable from just something you could buy off of the supermarket shelf? So he said this raised a philosophical question of what arts are. And Danto's conclusion was that every artist has to have a concept to establish what he's doing is art. But the other, which I don't entirely agree with, but it opens up the door to anything. Right. So now it's possible to do that. Meaning going back. Scenes, landscapes, and like Capacity, he's got a whole project that creates a framework.
French esthetician Rosenfant, he said, art is the demonstration that the ordinary is extraordinary.
Yeah, well, that is kind of the whole point. Just paying so much attention that
Right.
you're seeing something that you never would have seen. Just look at something that long.
As the French say, it's ça dépend d'un point de vue, depends on your point of view.
Right. Yeah. The quality of attention and the answer to those.
I'd like to speak up in behalf of wax paper.
Yeah.
Quite something. Stop of the day. But, that's amazing.
Old school rap.
Yeah, absolutely, it's elevated, it's something.
Yes, I don't think, I can't hold it there. I like it. You know, close, it's, you don't see it at all. I mean, it's just what it's wrapping that comes away a little bit. Colors or fades. Bubbles up a little bit.
I think they did. 1967, Richard Estes had his first show at Ellenstone.
Right.
And then I was a student and I was going straight from the day. And
Same as
I could come up with a lot of other actors. But in 67, Estes opened the door.
Yeah.
People could paint again.
Yes.
And he said, interesting, he said, I don't know, I guess they were just tired of the other stuff.
Yeah.
He was very limited in his what's going on, but he said people just are not interested so much in that other stuff. Which went on and
It was so fresh because in a way it's so basic. I mean, the craftsmanship is tremendous, but the artist isn't imposing himself very much. Subject. But 67, I mean, it's, you forget that photorealism started in the 60s. I didn't think of it. Yeah, you know. But I think it was in the 70s. Tom Wolfer, Bird, and their songs.
I read that.
Yeah, yeah. Saying like what happened in the 50s with abstract expressionism was that it really depended on being floated by Bird, Rosenberg. You had to have this theory of art to appreciate what was going on in abstraction. And he said photorealism just versus that kind of things. The thing in paintings what matters is only rotating at all.
I had the experience with my brother. We were in the museum in New York, and the docent was talking about this abstract painting. It became abundantly clear that the painting only existed in the docent's words, not actually even what was there.
Right.
That whole thing was going on. It was like the
Right.
book, The Painted Word. You know that book?
Yeah, we just thought, yeah.
I mean, that was a demonstration of it right there. I go, oh my God, it's going on all right.
Yes.
Docent is creating this painting, and people are going to go, you know,
Right.
anything at all there.
Conceptual art, I think, someone just saying, this is the description, here's the instructions on how to make this. That's the work of art. A set of instructions.
Right.
And then, you know, anybody can put it together.
Well, they had a movement in school lately. I went to judge some artwork at RIT, and they said, well, here you have to look at the student's essay about the work. And I said to the other judge, that's crazy. I want to see the work. I don't look at what they want to explain about it. And I said, I don't believe you sit down and you intellectualize about a piece so you know where it's going to end up. That process is wrapped up in doing it. Like you said about starting with this, the idea can come into it. It may be the materials and the shapes that create or doing it. And then it evolves, and it has to happen as a process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's the,
That's happening. Yes, in this day and age of play,
right.
some reason.
Yeah. Or it has to have some significance that's attached to it. That was the point of the painting, which means it's not instruction, it's not algebra, it's something you're experiment. It's like an experimentation. What do I do if I change these elements? What's going to happen? How's it going to turn out?
Dave, you have a question here from the virtual audience here. Do you ever do figurative portraiture or landscape painting?
The one I'm working on now has a couple of
That's a new development for you?
Yeah, it's, oh, yeah. No, I've done portraits. Yeah. Yeah, in the past, I haven't done any recently. Did drawings of my kids. So.
And I have a question. Do you find your creative work as a writer to help influence or guide in your practice as a painter?
No. Again,
Okay.
the writing is like an afterthought in a way. That the blog I've been doing is really, it's not just about whatever, it's about all kinds of things. It's just thinking about art. But that to me is, comes after it. Processes. Things happen that you don't expect. That's the way art should be. And the end result is grappling with materials and with formative concerns. Try to illustrate something. Although there are exceptions for those two.
It's that question that the trip is probably more of the thing than the
Right.
destination.
Right. Yeah.
The images. Making verification. Awkward. Feeling.
Right. Yeah.
Feeling.
Right. It's having this
You want
discussion.
your painting to be attractive.
Right. And it's more than feeling, but we don't have the language for it. It's how it goes that time. It's a recognition or intuition that has a feeling attached to it, but it doesn't even have to be emotional. It's a different way of perceiving. It's not full. It's a different way of perceiving that it can open up. I think of like the way you respond to a song. That just take the lyrics out of it, the melody. It's the way I respond to the painting. And it's not just sentimental. There's something else that's going on. And you really love that song. What's opening up for you? The song, the sense of, I don't know, experience. That to me is changing.
Bring to arrive at the place where the
Yes, exactly right. You can get it. But when you say feeling, people think like, oh,
Yeah,
it's feeling. It's soft science, you know. It's insight or seed. Describe it. Spiders and all. Spiders and all creative things. I do, yeah, sometimes podcasts. But yeah, we're just say, yeah, I just do music. Not any particular kind of music. I listen to everything from classical. I like so many different things. There's still a lot of good music being made. It's just so much fun. So much being made. So much stuff that's kind of manufactured. That we just have to jump on. It's fun. Good bands. But nothing. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.